At some point in your life, maybe right now, you looked around and realized there is no one coming to help you through this. No rescue, no reassurance, just you, and a silence heavier than you expected. And a question that keeps surfacing gently but persistently: can you keep going when you are completely on your own? Most of us never had to answer that question honestly. We were always surrounded by someone, a spouse, a friend, a colleague who checked in. But Carl Jung, one of the most important minds in all of psychology, believed something that may surprise you. He said the seasons of your life when you stand alone are not the seasons you fall behind. They are the seasons when the most important growth of your entire life quietly begins. Today on Carl Jung Psychology Hub, we are going to walk through 5 inner shifts that happen when you no longer have anyone to lean on, and why each one of them is actually moving you forward, even when it feels like you are standing still. And the first shift? It may be the most uncomfortable truth you will ever have to face about yourself. There is a structure inside many of us that formed long before we were aware of it. It goes something like this: when things get hard enough, help will appear. Someone will notice. Something will shift. It is not a conscious thought, it lives deeper than that. And as long as it stays invisible, it quietly redirects your energy away from action and toward waiting. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And that is exactly what this pattern does. It masquerades as patience, while silently keeping you in place. Think of someone you know, perhaps you recognize yourself here, who stayed too long in a job, a situation, or a role, not out of contentment, but out of a quiet hope that the right moment would eventually arrive on its own. It never did. Not because the person lacked ability, but because waiting had become invisible habit. The moment you stop waiting for rescue is the moment you take the wheel. The inner shift comes not when circumstances change, but when you finally see that the delay was never about the outside world. When external noise fades, when there is no one calling, no notifications demanding attention, no voice to bounce your thoughts off of, something unusual happens. Your attention, with nowhere left to go outward, slowly turns inward. And what it finds there can be unsettling at first. Old feelings resurface. Patterns you never noticed before become visible. You begin to realize that much of what you thought about yourself was shaped by what other people reflected back to you, not by anything you discovered on your own. Jung called this process making the darkness conscious. Not darkness as something evil, but as the vast interior territory most people never bother to explore, because the outside world is always louder. This is solitude used wisely. Not isolation as punishment, but stillness as an invitation to finally see what has always been there, quietly waiting beneath the surface of your busy life. Here is a question worth sitting with. If no one were ever going to see what you did today, would you still do it? For many people, the honest answer is no, or at least not with the same energy. And that is not a character flaw. It reflects how our brains are wired. The brain naturally ties motivation to feedback. When the feedback disappears, the drive can soften. But something remarkable happens when a person keeps moving forward anyway. Over time, the source of motivation shifts. Action stops being about reward from the outside and starts coming from something steadier inside. Jung described this inner drive as acting from necessity, not to prove anything, not to earn anything, simply because the action itself expresses who you are. Doing good work in silence is not wasted. It is where character is actually built. If you grew up being praised for certain things, your helpfulness, your accomplishments, your role in someone else's life, it is natural to begin equating your value with how others respond to you. Jung called the social face we wear for the world the persona. It is necessary. But the danger comes when you confuse the persona for your actual self. When the approval fades, it can feel as though you yourself have faded. You have not. The disorientation of that moment, that quiet crisis of "I don't know who I am without this role," is not collapse. It is the beginning of something truer. Because the self underneath the persona was always there. It simply never had room to breathe. Value that requires constant confirmation from others was never truly yours to begin with. The value that belongs to you exists whether anyone sees it today or not. Here is what Jung understood that most motivational advice completely misses. The goal of these hard, solitary seasons is not simply survival. It is the slow formation of an identity that no longer shifts every time the wind changes. When you are no longer defined by your role, your relationship, your audience, or your reputation, something deeper begins to emerge. Not a new image, not a better brand, something quieter than that, a steadiness that does not need to announce itself. You still engage with the world, you still connect with people, but you do so from a different place now, from the inside out rather than the outside in. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Not the most polished version, not the most recognized version. Simply the real one, arrived at slowly, often alone, usually in the quiet seasons most people only want to escape. If any part of today's conversation touched something in you, I want you to do one small thing: press the like button on this video. It is a simple action, but it tells me that Carl Jung Psychology Hub is reaching the people who genuinely need these ideas. And if someone in your life is walking through a quiet, hard season right now, share this video with them. They may need to hear it more than you know. We will see you in the next one.